Great to be here, and thank you all for joining us. As Antonio said, my name is Luke White. I'm a dietitian at the Food Chain. I'm just going to share my screen with you all. So I can talk a bit about what we do at the Food Chain. So lots of you may already know our service, working with nutrition and vulnerable people living with HIV in London. So helping people to access nutritious food through our groceries, our communal meals, and our cookery classes. Obviously, it's been very different since lockdown. We've had a lot of people isolated and needing food deliveries quite urgently, and we've just actually started seeing a rise in that, along with the public health rise in COVID cases, sadly. So our talk tonight, as Antonio said, is on food and mood. So doing the series around mental health. So this is going to be specifically supporting our mental health through our diet and the foods that we eat. I've kind of done this background already whilst we were sorting out the technicals. So just the explanation of who I am and what the Food Chain do. So the aims and objectives of this evening's talk. So we want to increase our understanding of the role between a healthy, balanced diet and lifestyle, and how this plays into our mental health. So we're going to discuss how a healthy, balanced diet affects brain function, as well as the specific nutrients that impact on our mood, and the importance of exercise on our mental health and well-being, as well as how our mental health can in turn impact on our diet and nutrition and our motivation to maybe cook and maintain a healthy diet. Okay. So eating for our mental health. So eating well makes you feel well. I guess everybody can relate to that. We all know eating well makes us feel better, but lots of factors often impact on the foods that we eat. Having busy lives, needing quick, convenient food on the go, as well as cheaper foods often being maybe less healthy foods, higher in fats and sugars. And as I've mentioned before, low mood impacting on the motivation to prepare meals for ourselves. So I just wanted to say as well that we all suffer with different levels of mental health at times and poor mental health at times, which is perfectly normal. And I want to emphasize that I'm not here to stigmatize mental health and suggest that we should all have good mental health at all times. That's unrealistic. I want to explain the role of diet in improving and stabilizing our mental health and helping to work with low mood and also bring up a positive mood and positive mental health. I just thought that was an important point to make. And then looking at the fact that by making some changes to our diet and lifestyle, we can maintain improved mental health for the short term and the longer term by giving our bodies the nutrients that we require for balancing our mood and improving our gut bacteria as well. So having a healthy gut bacteria and gut flora. We're learning more and more about the what we call the gut-brain axis, so the impact that our guts have on our mental health, and we can come on to some of that a bit later on as well. So thinking about what is a healthy, balanced diet. So hopefully you've seen the Eat Well guide. So this is used across Public Health England, I think Britain-wide, unless Scotland and Wales have their own, but certainly Public Health England and NHS. This is the current best practice guideline. So it's made up of, it used to be a plate, but this is just the fraction makeup of your diet, not necessarily each meal. So it's made up of 5 food groups. So you've got your fruits and vegetables in the green section. You've got the potatoes, bread, rice, pasta, and other starchy carbohydrates in the yellow section. And then we've got the beans, pulses, fish, eggs, meat, and other proteins in the pink section down the bottom. And you can see we've got dairy and alternative dairies in the blue section, as well as the fats and oils in the small mauve sliver there. And you notice the foods that are higher in fat, salt, and sugars are not necessarily needed in the diet, outside the circle on the bottom left. So those are maybe treats, but things that should be had in moderation, and choose to include them in your diet a little less often and in smaller amounts. And on the top left, we have the traffic light system that is used on foods. On all, it's law in the UK to have these on food packaging. So having your salt, fat, sugar, and having them in green, red, and yellow. So you've got a good idea just from first look what your foods contain. So that's just an idea of a healthy, balanced diet. So guidelines are having 5 portions of fruits and vegetables each day. Remembering fresh, frozen, dried, and canned fruits and vegetables all count towards your total 5 a day. Don't forget to include the vegetables that you add to cooked dishes, for example, onions in a stew or casserole, or tomatoes in a pasta sauce, or indeed in a soup that you make up. Then we've got number 2, the potatoes, bread, rice, pasta, and other starchy carbohydrates. So including starchy foods such as these, as well as chapatis, breakfast cereals, noodles, and oats as part of our meals and snacks. The guideline aim is to include 1 food from this group at each meal, and have carbohydrate eaten regularly to maintain a stable blood glucose level, which we will also come onto. We recommend opting for whole grain varieties of our carbohydrates. So your wholemeal bread or your whole wheat pasta, your brown rice. So all of the darker brown options having more fiber, a lower glycemic index, and having less of an impact on our immediate blood glucose levels. We're coming on to that subject shortly because it does play into our mood and mental health. And number 3, we've got variety, so choosing a variety of different types and colours of fruits and vegetables, as well as providing vitamins and minerals and fibre. The natural colours and flavours of plants add powerful antioxidants to our diet, and we know the impact that these also have on our overall health, which plays into our mental health as well. And we'll come on to specific nutrients a little later on as well. Number 4, beans, pulses, fish, eggs, meat, and other proteins. So recommended to choose lean meat or remove excess fat from your meats, or remove the skin from chicken, for instance, just to avoid the level of saturated fat that we find in animal products. So just choosing those leaner versions. And so we try to include 2 portions of fish per week as per the guideline, one of which is recommended to be an oily fish. So examples of those are mackerel, trout, sardines, kippers, or salmon. And tuna is not classified as an oily fish as it used to be. It was declassified for the levels of omega-3 in it. So that's tinned or fresh. And a point on fish, whilst I mention it, whilst we're thinking about mental health and some of the nutrients that are very important, fish is amazing because it has lots of vitamin D, and it also has the omega-3, 2 of the big nutrients that we'll come on to talk about in maintaining a positive mental health. The last point here, number 5, is dairy and alternatives. So with dairy foods providing the richest and best absorbed source of dietary calcium, try for 3 portions a day to meet our most people's calcium needs. So a portion can be from cheese or yogurt or other dairy items, and lots of the dairy alternatives are fortified with calcium as well, to keeping our bones healthy, keeping our bodies healthy. Okay. So whilst thinking about a healthy, balanced diet, it's important to consider what portion sizes we're talking about and recommending. So this hand guide is always very helpful, because obviously everyone's got their hands in front of them. So if you're thinking about a portion of vegetables, just what fits in 2 hands. Thinking about a portion of carbohydrates, so that's rice there in the second one, a fist size on your plate. Portion of protein, I think that's chicken, on the palm, so it's the square palm without the fingers or thumb, which is the portion recommended for the protein in 1 meal. And that's fruit in the 4th one, again the fist size as a portion. This is important when thinking about blood glucose levels, because we can easily eat lots of fruit at one time, being healthy, but then there's plenty of free sugars in there as well that have quite an immediate effect on our blood glucose levels. And the last one there is fats and oils. So this would include margarine and butter, and that's meant to be the last digit of your thumb from the last joint on your thumb, that size, which is I think between 5 and 10 grams, maybe about half a matchbox. And what isn't on this slide is the recommendation for fish. So the recommendation for fish is a portion is the palm with the fingers, so the whole hand is a portion of fish. So maybe a salmon fillet or 2 salmon fillets. Okay. So how can food affect our mental health? The subject of our talk. So our brains, like any other organ, need nutrients, not only to survive, but to work at their optimum. So the brain works predominantly on glucose, but that's broken down from lots of the foods that we eat, and can also work in other ways. But maintaining those healthy nutrients, again, the omega-3 playing into our brain function, as well as some of the nutrients that we'll come on to. So this little fact, the point two, nearly 2/3 of those who do not report daily mental health problems eat fresh fruit or fruit juice every day, compared with less than half of those who do not report daily mental health problems. So that's just the impact there that having daily fruit portions helping play a role in positive mental health. So lots of those antioxidants and nutrients that we find in fruit. Third point there, being a balanced mood and well-being can be protected by making sure you have a healthy, balanced diet. So top tips for supporting positive mental health. First point here, eat regularly throughout the day and a variety of foods. So we've spoken about variety, and I've touched on the importance of maintaining regular or stable blood glucose levels. So that regular intake of carbohydrates, which I understand would go against people, lots of the public health, well, not public health, I mean social media and public perception on carbohydrate at the moment and sugar. So lots of people trying to do low carb diets or keto diets. In terms of mental health, we're recommending that maintaining stable carbohydrate intake maintains that stable blood glucose level throughout the day and prevents those peaks and troughs that give you the highs and lows in mood as well. So eating regular meals throughout the day maintains constant blood sugar. Make sure you eat at least 3 meals each day. Missing meals, especially breakfast, can lead to low blood sugar levels, which cause low mood, irritability, and fatigue. If you feel hungry between meals, you may need to include a healthy snack such as fruit, nuts, or cereals. And if anyone has any questions on that, we can come on to it towards the end. So point 2 here is what I've touched on a couple of times, balanced blood glucose levels, blood sugar levels. So this is just a illustration of what I was talking about with the peaks and troughs. So having high carb or high sugar, free sugar, high glycemic index meals. So think about your sugary foods or your white carbohydrates, your white rice, white bread, white pasta. You might see these peaks and troughs. With the breakfast, I'd also include sugary breakfast cereals. Cornflakes as well, even without sugar on, are quite easily digested and have quite a fast impact on our blood glucose levels. So opting for things like porridge or Weetabix or shredded wheat for breakfast, and your lower glycemic index carbohydrates in meals later in the day. So what I've spoken about, the wholemeal bread, whole wheat pasta, brown rice. So I just wanted to show that illustration. And then, as I've mentioned here, choosing the less refined sugar foods. So opting for whole grains, as well as cereals, nuts, beans, lentils, fruit and vegetables. So getting lots of those fibers, as well as slowing down the impacts of the sugar getting into our blood as quickly and giving us the highs or lows. So whole grain cereals, pulses, fruits and vegetables are more filling, keep us fuller for longer, generally have the lower glycemic index. And because sugar in these foods is absorbed more slowly. It prevents the mood swings. And on the other side, sugary foods are absorbed very quickly into the bloodstream. And this may cause the initial high or surge in energy, but then soon wears off and the body increases its insulin production, leaving you feeling tired and low. Okay. Top tip number 3 for supporting positive mental health. So eat a source of protein at each meal. So sources of protein, as we've spoken about, your red meats, chicken, fish, eggs, milk, dairy products, nuts, beans, lentils, pulses. Opting for the leaner varieties, so cutting fat off of red meat and skin off of chicken, as I previously mentioned. So protein is a key macronutrient for cell regeneration, so the growth of our cells, so including our organs and our muscles, and any part of regeneration or growth, or even supporting our immune system for fighting infections and things. So it helps us to maintain a healthy body, as well as having key nutrients within the protein source itself. So tryptophan, I've highlighted here, is an amino acid that's thought to increase the activity and level of certain chemicals in the brain. So tryptophan has sometimes been used to treat depression, but I wanted to also highlight that we're not sure if that is a completely safe way to treat depression. So that's not a recommendation to go out and get all supplements. It's certainly something to discuss with your healthcare team, as well as any supplements that you're considering. Have a chat with your GP or dietitian or nurse or whoever you're in contact with. So yeah, having this protein and tryptophan can improve symptoms of depression. You can ensure your brain gets a regular supply of tryptophan by including at least one good sized portion of protein in each meal. So those sources that I'd set out a moment ago. Also including meat substitutes, such as textured vegetable proteins or mycoprotein, which is the like the corn or own brand meat alternatives. So point number 4, I've spoken a bit about oily fish as well. So that's top tip number 4. Let's include some oily fish in our diet. So as I mentioned, the guideline is to have 2 portions of fish per week, portion being your palm with your fingers, and one of those portions in the week being an oily fish. The role of omega-3 in preventing problems with mental health remains to be clarified, but we obviously recognize there is benefit there. Omega-3 could be helpful due to the role in brain signaling and decreasing inflammation, which we do have evidence for. So as I said, recommended to have 1 to 2 portions of fish, one of which oily, and you've got there the sources of oily fish, or the types of oily fish. And if you're vegetarian, you can still get sources of omega-3, although they're limited to vegetarians. You can have flaxseed oil or omega-3 supplements. And again, if you're adding supplements into your diet, always discuss with your healthcare team and healthcare professionals. And you can also try omega-3 fortified foods such as eggs and milk. So on some packaging, you'll see that they've been fortified with that omega-3. I can share these slides at the end. I've just included a resource there for omega-3. So this is a good point. If you don't like fish, you may decide to take omega-3 supplements. If you do choose to do so, choose a fish body oil instead of the fish liver oils, which are commonly on the market, just to get maximum omega-3 from those sources. And also the fish liver oils containing lots of vitamin A, because that's a natural substance found in liver. And that's why there's a recommendation to avoid liver for pregnant women. Just that's high levels of vitamin A can be toxic for us. So that's why we recommend a fish body oil as opposed to a fish liver oil. Okay. So which one of these would we say has more omega-3 in? We'll answer this at the end. You can have a think about it, and we'll do it in the questions towards the end. So there's a tin of sardines there, or there's a fillet of salmon. Just to get you thinking about the levels in these. And in fact, I'll go into that and give you the figures whilst I'm here with them. Sardines actually have, per 100 grams of weight, 2,100 milligrams of omega-3 in them. And the salmon fillet per 100 gram has 800 milligrams of omega-3 in. So sardines and mackerel as well are very high in omega-3 because they're a very oily fish. So that's actually a 2.6 fold, or the sardines are 2.6 times more rich in omega-3 than the same weight in salmon. Obviously, you normally have a bigger fillet when you're having salmon. But that's just something to consider when thinking about your omega-3 sources. Top tip number 5 is drinking enough fluids. So we know that even slight dehydration can affect our mood, and our national guideline is to have at least 6 to 8 glasses of water per day. So depending on the size of your body, it's around 1.5 to 2 litres of fluid per day. This doesn't have to be water. Things like juice and tea, and even coffee is included, even though coffee is a slight diuretic. Just maintaining that level of hydration, which you can tell from the colour of your urination, you know when you're dehydrated, and you might feel a bit tired, and then you might feel a bit grouchy as well. So talking about teas and coffees, caffeine also plays a big effect on our mood and can lead to withdrawal headaches and causing you to feel low or irritable when those effects of the caffeine start to wear off. So drinks such as coffee, cola, energy drinks, tea and coffee all contain caffeine. We'd recommend avoiding all energy drinks and try to limit your intake of caffeine. Drinks containing caffeine to 3 cups of coffee a day, or 5 cups of tea. Excuse me. So yeah, just limiting that intake, maybe working out what works best for you. So your routine of coffee in the morning, tea at lunchtime, and not having too much more after that. So you're not affecting your sleep. And yeah, not having too many, so you're not having those peaks and troughs. Alcohol being another factor with hydration, and obviously drinks. It has a dehydrating effect, as I mentioned, with the same as with coffee. And the effect of drinking too much alcohol can also lead to B vitamin deficiencies, which play into our cognition and mental health. So it can make you more depressed and anxious if you're having excess alcohol. So try to limit your intake to no more than 2 to 3 drinks on one day, or no more than 5 days per week. So the recommendation is 14 units per week, having at least 2 days off during the week. Okay. So top tip number 6 is exercise. So getting some exercise and getting some fresh air, getting outside to support our mental health. So exercise also leads to the release of endorphins, so the feel-good chemicals that help us to relax and feel happy. Exercise is particularly important to those with depression, as it also gives some of that structure and purpose to our day. So I've just set out some of the aims here. So these are along public health guidelines. Aim to be physically active every day, increasing our heart rate. So any activity is better than none. So depending on motivation and energy levels, maybe just going for a walk, or if we're in COVID lockdown, maybe doing some exercise at home, doing a yoga video, or yeah, lots of YouTube videos. Although in fact there's lots on the NHS site as well. If you Google NHS fitness videos, there's lots on there, for all levels as well, whether you want vigorous exercise or whether it be something like yoga or body weight kind of muscle gain workouts and things. So doing these strengthening activities also helps maintain our positive mental health, working on our muscles, including our legs, hips, back, abdomen, chest, shoulders, arms. So maintaining a strong structure, looking after our bones and muscles, as well as our mental health. The endorphins that I mentioned at the start of this slide, they're also released quite intensely with these strengthening activities. I've lost my tongue. And the target is to do those on 2 days per week where possible. We're looking to do 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise per week. So moderate being getting your heart rate slightly increased. So maybe a fast walk or a jog. Maybe it be the exercises that you do at home on the videos, or something that gets your heart rate moderately increased. Or you could do vigorous intensity activities, so short, sharp bursts of activity, 75 minutes per week. So maybe that's 25 minutes, 3 days a week. And if you're doing the moderate one, that could be half an hour, 5 days a week. Just with the aim of reducing time spent sitting or lying, just to break up those long periods of not moving, breaking that up with some activity. So including sitting at a computer like we're all doing now, just breaking it up when we finish, going for a walk, maybe cycle, gaining that bit of activity and fresh air. Okay, I think I'm on 36 minutes and I've got about 6 slides left. So top tip number 7 here, maintaining a healthy weight. So lots of this has been in the the news recently with Boris Johnson coming up with his obesity plan, some of which we would agree with, but obviously it's a bit more complex than they would suggest, and mental health playing into that a lot. So maintaining a healthy weight. Depression affects different people in different ways, and appetite can either be increased or decreased. So obviously different people are affected differently with depression, low mood, anxiety. So some people lose interest in food or can't be bothered to shop or prepare meals or cook, so they end up losing weight. Others may find they want to eat more and comfort eat and use food as that comfort. So people can be very different. So we need to work with kind of both ends of the scale. And of course, medications can play a big role in gaining weight, especially the medications around mental health. So antidepressants can have a significant impact on appetite and often increases or decreases in weight. If this is the case with you, we'd always recommend speaking to your doctor and your pharmacist, because there's lots of different medications that can treat similar symptoms. So choosing a different medication might have a different impact on appetite and weight gain or loss. So discussing that with your healthcare team. Got some traffic going by, so hopefully you can still hear me okay. The other point I would make here is both excessive weight loss and weight gain can impact on our overall health. So weight loss and lack of good nutrition will deprive the brain of glucose and other nutrients that control our mood. So you may need the advice of your dietitian or GP or healthcare team to overcome those problems and maybe discuss your medications with that team. And I'd always say, if you're planning to lose weight or trying to prevent any further weight loss, you can always get support from your healthcare professionals, whether that be clinic or GP as the first point of call, and then they can make a referral on, or as well as any of us guys. So if you have contact with us at Food Chain or the guys at Positive East, they can make the appropriate referrals as well. Next slide. So I wanted to think about when we are experiencing these times of low mood and lack of motivation around our nutrition and diet, and yeah, preparing those meals. So thinking about some simple recipe ideas that we can throw together quite quickly to try to maintain a bit of the nutritional intake, whilst not being too arduous to prepare. So things like soup, if it's shop or something you've already prepared and put in the freezer, for instance, simple to do, easy to heat up, and generally quite comforting as well. And you can get lots of nutrients in there as well if it's got loads of vegetables blended in there, and even some protein from some chicken maybe, or some pulses or beans. Frozen mixed vegetables we're very keen on here at the Food Chain, because they keep very well. they maintain the nutrients, and they're very quick and easy to prepare. So if you're just pulling out some frozen mixed veg, throwing in a saucepan of water, they're ready in a matter of minutes, and you can just add that to whatever meal you're preparing, however simple it is. Something like a jacket potato, you just have to throw in the oven, or even do in the microwave, and will be ready quite quickly. Or even doing a combination, throwing it in the microwave for 10 minutes to soften it up, and then crisp it up in the oven. Lots of good nutrients there, and having the potato with the skin on is a great source of fibre for supporting our gut health and supporting our mental health. I've got here 1 tray bakes, so things like just throwing a load of vegetables and a protein source in 1 tray in the oven, so you don't have to think about it too much. You just cut everything up, throw it in a tray, and throw it in the oven for whatever, 45 minutes to an hour maybe, and you've got a ready-made meal there ready to go, although it's taken the effort to chop those vegetables and things. Beans on toast, something very simple, great source of fibre, again supporting our gut health. And having wholemeal bread there as well, and maybe some olive spread on the toast, having those healthy unsaturated, polyunsaturated oils there in the olive spread. Having things like tinned fish and vegetables, tinned vegetables in the cupboard for times when you need something quick or you haven't got the motivation to cook. Great source of nutrients and very quick and easy to do. And I've got here down the bottom as well, just make a meal that you enjoy preparing. So maybe that will give you the perk in your mood, that might lift your mood slightly, having something that you really fancy, that you really want to eat, and that you kind of enjoy preparing and eating. And if you're going to do that, you could always make bulk of it, so you've got some to put in the freezer for another time when you need something quick and easy. And I've put our recipes and tips email address here, so we've got a huge wealth of recipes at the food chain. So if you wanted to get in touch with us, make a note of our recipes and tips email address down there at the bottom. I can always forward this on to you at a later time as well, or get into contact with Antonio for that. And yeah, we'd be happy to provide recipes along the lines of any subjects, whether it be food and mood or simple meals, or quick and easy, or whether it's with certain ingredients, so along the basis of whatever ingredients you want. We've got quite a wealth, like I said, of recipes. So do get in touch. Okay. So I think I mentioned these earlier. I've been over fibre quite a bit, thinking about the prebiotic and probiotic benefits of the fibre that we're having in our diet. So often these are popular these days as supplements, the prebiotic and probiotic drinks. So they're milky-based drinks with either the bacteria in or the food for the gut bacteria. But that needs to get through your stomach acid, and a small percentage does survive, given that there's billions in there. But an easy way of doing that is just to have plenty of fibre in your diet. So having lots of vegetable fibre sources, things like garlic and onion are really good for feeding our gut bacteria, maintaining a healthy gut flora. And a note that I want to make along those lines of the probiotics is whether people have a low CD4 count. We always think about introducing any bacteria into the diet and the risk that that may have with opportunistic infection. So we certainly wouldn't recommend probiotics for people with a low CD4 count. So I just want to make that point clear. But the benefits of the fibers in your fruits, vegetables, whole grain carbohydrates should be plenty to maintain your happy gut bacteria, and therefore supporting our mental health through the gut-brain axis, as we're learning more and more about. The other nutrient at the top here is vitamin D. So as we know, this has been talked a lot about during COVID as well. So we're getting vitamin D from sunlight and other protein sources such as the fish as well, which I mentioned earlier. So there's some evidence to suggest that the development or worsening of mental health conditions such as depression, low mood, may also be related to inadequate levels of vitamin D. So speaking to our healthcare professionals again, getting your levels checked by your doctor if possible, getting plenty of sunshine, getting plenty of vitamin D sources. I'd say from fish would be the ultimate source, thinking about the omega-3 and protein there as well. So that there's just some other nutrients that play into our mental health.